coming on such a beautiful day when you could have easily decided to perhaps go to the park. So my name is Sara Stevano, and I am a Postdoctoral Fellow in economics at SOAS. I am looking at the issue of food insecurity and malnutrition from a very different perspective relative to Pauline, which I think is good because it's the scope of this seminar. My background is in development economics and political economy, but my doctoral research was an interdisciplinary project, and so I've also used insights, especially methodological approaches from the field of anthropology, which is why what you see there is political economy and anthropological perspectives on food insecurity and malnutrition. So I'm going to be talking a little bit, providing with some insights on my doctoral research, which was on women's work, food and household dynamics in the north of Mozambique. And this project was conducted between 2010 and 2014. So of course I will not go into the details, I will just give you some key insights, and then of course I'm happy to give you more details if you have any questions later on. Perhaps what I should specify is that I'm particularly looking at nutrition, or actually malnutrition, from a food perspective. So as you'll see, and I will tell you the type of methods that I've used, I conducted quite a comprehensive study of food security, food consumption, and also the organization of food practices, generally speaking. Okay. So I think in this short presentation I want to make one key point, which is that anthropological and political economy approaches to the study of food insecurity and malnutrition can illuminate the crucial aspects of the nature of food insecurity and malnutrition, and also of their determinants. And perhaps I can make this point even a little bit stronger, which is that these type of perspectives are indeed necessary in order to advance our understanding of food insecurity and malnutrition. And I think it's particularly important to say so in a context in which many authors and many scholars, and perhaps I will add my voice to that, think that we are over-reliant on quantifiable and cross-country indicators, cross-country comparable indicators of food insecurity and malnutrition, and also in a context where perhaps there's a bit of a prevalence or a preference for biomedical approaches to the study of nutrition. Okay, so this is the key point. So I'm going to start with presenting one conventional tool to measure household food security. This was developed around 2010-2011. So you have on the slide that the last line is basically the reference of one of the key papers where this tool is introduced and presented. So if you're interested, you can have a look at that. So this is the FANTA's household hunger scale. FANTA is the Food and Nutrition Technical Assistance Project. And pretty much the key aim of this tool was to come up with a standardized measurement of household food security, okay? And here we're looking at the quantitative aspect of food security, so whether households have access to sufficient quantities of food. And as you can see, the tool is fairly simple, so it has 3 questions, D1, D2, and D3. So the recall period is 30 days, so 1 month before the interview. The first question is, in the past 30 days, was there ever no food to eat of any kind in your house because of lack of resources to get food? The second question is, did you or any household member go to sleep at night hungry because there was not enough food? And the third question is, did you or any household member go a whole day and night without eating anything at all because there was not enough food? So you see how this assumption that lack of resources to acquire food or not having enough food is really the underlying principle there in terms of the main cause for not being able to access sufficient quantities of food. And then for each question, so if the answer is yes, then you have 3 possible frequencies, right? So this is how the index is constructed. It was validated, and it is a type of tool that is considered to be especially effective in contexts characterized by high levels of malnutrition or food insecurity, okay? So we can see that these are fairly strong questions, and I think we can all already see some of the issues. But of course, the key advantages are that this is a very easy and straightforward tool, and it is cross-country comparable, right? So supposedly it can be used across many different contexts. Okay, so what I did in my research is a bit different. So this is the province of the north of Mozambique where I did my research. It's highlighted in orange in that map, okay? It's called Cabo Delgado. And specifically, I conducted research in 3 districts of the province. So in the main town, the capital of the province, which is the town of Pemba, and then in the peri-urban district of Metuji, which is colored in blue, and then in the rural district of Mueda. And I mean, I could tell you many things about Cabo Delgado, but I think, for the sake of this presentation, I'm just going to highlight that this is one of the provinces with the highest levels of chronic malnutrition in Mozambique. So this is DHS data 2011, and it tells us that in this province, 52% of children under 5 are stunted, which is a very high level of stunting. And a WFP study of 2010 also found that in the province of Cabo Delgado, dietary diversity, which is measured with the sort of 24-hour recall method that Pauline talked about in her presentation, is also very poor and very low. So there's an issue of quality of diets, okay? So what I did is quite a long field work, especially for me in a department of economics. So there was a preliminary phase in which I used some focus groups as a sort of exploratory tool. I interviewed women, so my focus was on women, right? Women's work, and then also food and household dynamics. So female farmers and also farm workers, traders, and women who work at the market, food markets. Then in the first phase of data collection, I used ethnographic research methods, so mostly participant observation, and if you want to, we can call this phase a making sense type of phase in which I was trying to understand and gain some knowledge of the context that I was studying. On these phases, I designed a questionnaire, which I used to conduct a small-scale household survey. And this is a phase of, if you want, quantifying or trying to get a sense of the magnitude of a particular phenomenon through a small-scale household survey. And then in the third phase, I conducted more qualitative interviews in the form of life histories and other collective interviews, selecting the respondents on the basis of some of the answers and the patterns that emerged using in the household survey, okay? So to use a type of phrasing that has been used by some colleagues in development studies at SOAS, these last phase is to put some flesh on the bones of the survey data, okay? And of course, I can tell you more if you have some questions on the details of this. Something important to say is that, so in the household survey, my questionnaire, I did include that household hunger scale, that conventional indicator, together with others. One is a 24-hour recall method for dietary diversity, but also some questions that I refer to as being more context specifics, if you want. Because I formulated them myself, I formulated the questions based on the previous phase of fieldwork. Okay. So, I'm going to quickly take you through 3 main points. So, one is the meaning of food Another one is the importance of time to prepare food, and then the nature of food insecurity. That I think, using anthropology and political economy, both as theoretical approaches, but also in methodological terms, this is what really helped me get these insights, which otherwise would have not been possible, okay? So starting with the meaning of food, what I found out was quite early on, so during the ethnographic phase of my research, was that even if in Portuguese, which is the language spoken nationwide in Mozambique, and in the three languages that are spoken in the province where I conducted my research, the term food means everything that you can eat. Very often, colloquially, people refer to food as staple foods only, okay, which in this context is maize, rice, and cassava predominantly. And so this may seem a little bit trivial, but I do think that, especially for ethnographers or anthropologists, so there's something that can be understood and discussed around this issue, but also in terms of assisting the elaboration of the questionnaire and the interpretation of the survey data. This was quite important because if you ask people, so one of those questions that we saw before, right? Was there, in the past month, was there ever no food to eat of any kind in your house because of lack of resources to get food? And if food is understood as being just those three staples, then the answer that you get is quite misleading, okay? And so this was quite important, and although I still use, for instance, this conventional tool in my questionnaire, I was phrasing and framing questions in a way that they were more specific in order to get the answer I was looking for, okay? Then something that emerged again during that same phase at the beginning was that the issue of time was quite relevant, and particularly there were important clashes between different activities that did matter from a food security perspective. And so I did include a question in the questionnaire asking people whether they had to skip a meal due to lack of time to prepare it and not due to lack of resources to acquire food, for example. And what emerged is that actually a bit more than 40% of the respondents or someone in their households did skip a meal at least once in the month before the interview. Okay, so this was quite important, and this was especially true for rural households. And I think that the main explanation is that the organization of agricultural work and of agricultural activities is very time-consuming, and often people go to the fields very early in the morning and come back in mid-afternoon. And this means that there's no time to prepare a full meal for lunch. So perhaps the people eat something, but it would be a snack or something small to replace a full meal, okay? And something else that emerged is the practice of repeating meals, which in some cases can be explained in terms of time poverty, so the issue of time constraints, and in some other cases in terms of income poverty. Either because people do not have the resources to acquire more diverse food, or because they don't have time to cook twice per day, they just cook and prepare the meal once, and then they had exactly the same meal at lunch and dinner, okay? Which is something that then I didn't explore any further, but in terms of that picture of poor dietary diversity, I think it may tell us something about that. And then importantly, so I did get a picture in a sense of the nature of food insecurity that is very different from that assumed or described by those three questions that we had in that household hunger scale tool. And so first of all is that even in a context like that of Cabo Delgado, where the levels of chronic malnutrition are very high, as we saw, food insecurity is often, if you want, a more normalized occurrence, meaning that it doesn't manifest itself in those extreme events of having no food at all, or going to bed hungry, or going one entire day without having any food. But in terms of replacing full meals with snacks, or repeated meals, or reducing the quantity and the quality of food consumed, this type of thing. Okay, so this gives us an image of food insecurity that is different. And then something very important that, I mean, there's so much of a bigger story behind it, but I'm just going to tell you the key points, is that poor, especially poor farming households, tend to be food deficit. So they run out of food, particularly during the rainy season. And this means that the poorest agricultural households, the poorest farming households, very often need to combine farming their own land with seasonal wage work in agriculture. Okay, and so you have a time of the year, which is the rainy season, and it coincides with the pre-harvest season, where agricultural work is very intense, and poor households face food shortages. And also the prices of food tend to be much higher. Okay, so these are the seasonal fluctuations of food prices. And so I think that in this story, or these dynamics, lie really at the basis of the reproduction of what I call vicious cycles of food insecurity. Okay, and I'm happy to elaborate on these a little bit more. So just to conclude, where does this leave us in terms of how we study malnutrition? And here I am referring to a paper which I find very insightful, so I would recommend this paper to you, by Bridget O'Loughlin. It was published in 2013. I think it must have been added to the web page where this event, or maybe not. You can't. Okay, so I'm happy to.
Reasons, yeah. But it's in Journal of Agrarian Change.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's easily found.
Yeah, and she's looking at the question of health inequality in Southern Africa, so she doesn't look at malnutrition, but more at disease and health. Okay. And so there's a question around how do we study health inequality, how do we explain it? And so now I do not really want to try to summarize this paper because it's very dense and I think it's worth reading it in full. But pretty much it has to do with shifting the focus from the causes of individual disease, so why a particular individual falls ill, to the more, if you want, societal, those determinants operating at the societal level that determine the rate of incidence of a particular disease, okay, and why particular groups of the population may be more at risk and vulnerable to a disease. And so, looking at different cases in the context of Southern Africa, she shows how disease affect people differently along the lines of class, of gender, of race, and of ethnicity. And therefore, the social determinants of health inequality are linked to the broad historical processes of change, to the organization of production and the functioning of labor markets, and to processes of livelihood diversification and social differentiation. Okay. So I just want to conclude by saying that this type of approach is not seen very often in the context of, in the area of nutrition, and perhaps we need this same shift. We need to try to see what happens to our understanding of malnutrition by making this shift and changing our perspective in studying it. So I'm going to leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few of you can sit here so that everybody can see you.